It's a new week in the Crew Motorfest, and this week's theme is called the Off-Roader, and this is my summit guide. Let's go. Real quick before we get into it, shout out to Simji for helping out with this one. You can go check his channel out with the link in the description down below. All right, let's get into the cars first. The Summit Bundle will give you the Lancia Delta S4 Hoodlum Racing Crew Edition, the Hummer H1 Alpha Monster Truck, and the KTM 450 EXC Nighthawk Edition for motocross. You're going to need a couple of additional vehicles for this one as well. The Yamaha YZ450F, the Chevrolet Silverado Monster Truck, the Cento Dieci Hypercar, and the RB14 Disruption Edition. And the keys to this summit are the shortcuts and the dirty driving modifier. This is a huge modifier for this one. It completely changes the lines that you're going to have to take because you need to max that score. The score you can gain on each of these events just by filling up your dirty driving bar is 40,000 extra points. It's actually insane. So you need to fill that up on every single event. Anyways, we'll get into that. Here are the pro settings for those vehicles. All right, the first event is called Mess It Up, and there's a couple of things you need to know. You do not want to hit the metal fences. You only want to hit these stick fences and the white picket fences. So this first fence on the right is the one you're going to want to hit, then cut back to the left and follow the path around. You want to try to stay on the road as much as possible. Don't drive in the tall grass because it doesn't fill up your dirty driving bar and it slows you down quite a bit in rally. The next fence you're going to want to hit is right here at 22%. It's this white picket one. Try to stay on it most of the time, and throughout this curve you can actually get a lot of dirty driving points just from this one fence. Notice I'm really not doing a great job at it. Now I cut to the right a little bit early because I know this turn is coming up. Cut this flag on the left. Stay away from those metal fences once again. Cut this flag on the left. Keep turning left. And then when you cut back to the right for this checkpoint, you're going to try to hit a couple of those fences before going through this river. Now when you get to the other side of the river, there's a fence on the right here at the tree line. Make sure you're taking that out and then stay to the right. I will cut this checkpoint on the right as well. This breakable fence right here is all along the bush line there, so you're going to want to try to knock out as much of that as possible. Now in this turn you're going to have to slow down as much as possible. You can cut inside of that flag, but you definitely want to take that corner on the inside. On this one you cannot take the shortcut that you're used to with the grand races. You have to slow down and cut this flag on the right. I did a little drift and I drifted back to the left in order to make this turn. We played around with resetting these corners and it seems like resetting is not going to be faster on some of those, so definitely just drift it. Make sure you're using air NOS here and again there, but save a little bit because you're going to need some to go across some grass up here in just a moment. After this checkpoint you can cut the grass here. You can actually cut it a little bit farther if you want. I was running out of race and I did not hit the full bonus yet, so I wanted to make sure I got that by hitting a couple of those flags. And that's about it. I don't know why I kept hitting stuff. I already had 40,000. Obviously I was not paying attention. But once you get 40,000 points on your dirty driving, you're good to go. All right, the next event is called Make Your Own Trail. This one is on the YZ450F. Now for this one I just cut to the left a little bit here to get some fences before starting this race. You definitely need to get a bunch here on this first lap. You want to try to get 20,000 points on the first lap, 20,000 points on the second lap. Now the first big cut is right here after this brick wall. Go left after this flag, cut through these trees, and then you kind of stay a little bit wide because you got to turn left again. I cut the left of that flag, go through the brick wall on the right of this flag, try to take out some of this fence as well, then cut left of this flag. Make sure you're using NOS as well. And then there's a fence right here at the bush line. Make sure you're hitting some of those. And then cut this flag on the left and head straight for the next checkpoint. And when you get down from here, you'll downshift or brake if you're on automatic and take this berm. You don't really want to go too high up on it. And then when you come back down, hit a couple of these fences, go wide of these arrows, Actually hit them if you want to. Use NOS in the air a little bit, but don't use too much NOS in the air because air NOS on motorcycles is just not a thing. On lap 2, you'll hit some fence there, and then basically rinse and repeat. All right, the next event is called Embrace Chaos. This is using the S4 Hoodlum Racing Edition. This one's not terribly difficult, but it definitely will give some people some problems because this car is kind of difficult to drive. Anyways, you're going to want to cut these flags on the left. Stay left if you can, and then reset when you get to this next checkpoint here at 10%. Go up the hill, use a little bit of NOS, but not a ton. You'll go across this field, make your left. Now, I wouldn't worry too much about all of the breakable stuff for dirty driving because there's a lot of it in this race. I will show you the spots where you need to worry about it. Right here at about 42%, you're going to reset this flag as well. Make sure you're turning right when you're done, and then go through some of these breakables on the left. Make sure to keep turning left though, because the path goes all the way left. Now this is one of those scenarios where you want to take out as much fence there as possible, but don't worry too much because you need to go back right. Take out some more fence, head back down here. Now this is the important fence to hit here on the other side of the bank. So go all the way to the other side of the river and try to hit as much of this fence as possible. I had pretty good score going into it, so I wasn't worried about it, but that's the big fence. That's your big score, your dirty driving score right there. Now, here's a nice little tip for the end of this race, or I guess the middle of this race. If you get to this position and you don't really have a lot of score, let's say you only have like 30,000 or 32,000, something like that, these walls don't really slow you down too much. You can actually ride along these walls and get really good dirty driving score. So I think I did it a couple of times here, but basically just drift into them and boom, you'll get some good score. That was only 698, but they really start to stack up. I had already had 40, so I wasn't too worried about it, but in some of my practice runs I was just smashing into these walls at the end to try to get my score up to 40. Now on this turn up here, you're going to want to go a little bit wide, then slow way down and try to get your car back on the sand. You don't want to be in the water at all there. It slows you down a ton. That's basically it from here to the finish line. It's pretty much a straight line. There's not any shortcuts or anything like that. Use air NOS. Air NOS is very powerful with rally cars. All right, the next event is called Conquer Your Path. This one I recommend using the Silverado. It's the best monster truck in the game. And notice right off the start, I'm just taking out both of these fences. There's two that are lined up there. Take out both of those and then just stay on this fence line. Then cut back to the inside if you can and cut across. You're going to break through a couple of fences here. It's not really a big deal. Make sure you're nosing right after those fences. You can cut all of this stuff and then get on this fence on the left if you can. Break a little bit of that before you lose it. And then just stay on the left because there's another fence here you can break. And again, just be using your NOS there. Once you get to this point, you're going to cut back to the right. Again, more fence there. Cut to the left of this flag here. And then on the left, you'll just ride this fence line. So just try to stay right here. You've got two fences here. You got the yellow fence and you've got the stick fence. You want to be taking out both of those for your dirty driving bonus. For some reason, monster trucks don't gain the bonus as fast as other vehicles. You're definitely going to want to take out both of those fences as long as you can. But see how I got into that chain link fence? You don't want to be doing that at all. That probably cost me the difference between my score and Simji's on this one. Anyways, there's another cut there. You go across this water again. Make sure you're nosing across the water. And then there's a fence right here on this bush line. And then to the left. Cut back to the right. Get as close to this box truck as possible. Then cut hard on the left towards this checkpoint. Stay to the right of it though and go through the trees. And then up the hill. Crash into a little bit more fence here. Stay on the left side fence for this most of this time. And then feather the throttle around this turn so you don't slide. And then NOS when you get back up it. You should be at 40,000 by now, but if you're not, there's a few more things you're going to break through anyways, so don't worry too much. Now on this one, this is actually a pretty difficult turn. This bank here will cause the monster trucks to go really wonky when you hit like two wheels go in the air and 2 wheels are on the ground. It just really messes you up. So try to stay pretty wide going into this checkpoint and you'll have a better time. I did it okay. I probably did a little slower than, you know, what's possible, but I just wanted to survive it. I kept crashing on this one in a lot of the attempts. So I just wanted to survive, and that's what I ended up doing here. Cross the bridge and basically NOS to the finish line. I have to get a pretty decent score on this one. 229, which I believe was second place if I'm not mistaken on this one. Probably isn't going to stay, but it is what it is. All right, this next event is called Another One Rules the Dust. This is one of the new events of the new playlist, and it's kind of difficult. It took me a while to get enough score to max out my dirty driving, but this first line, I'll go back a little bit, is pretty important. So I stay behind these guys in order to get a little bit of slipstream, and then I cut to the left just right at the flag or right after the flag and grab some of that fence. And it also puts me through a couple of trees. I tried not to hit the big trees because they really slow you down. And then I cut back to the right, grab some of this fence. I'd like to stay on that fence a little longer, but on this particular attempt, I didn't do it too well. And that made me have to stay on that fence a little longer. Try not to be on that. Do the first part, not the second part. Now on this turn here, I use the bank in order to make the turn because the bikes really don't turn that well. So use the bank here, and I'm using NOS in spurts throughout this entire hill. And I'm kind of going straight towards that checkpoint. Now on this part, I stay wide. So there's a rock here on the left. I get as close to it as possible. Then I stay a little bit wide, downshift into 5th when I get past that flag, and then downshift into 4th in order to take this one. And I try to cut it to the left. Now when I get to here, I'm just following the path basically. But I want to hit this fence right there. And then on this turn, at about 60%, you're going to see lots of fences on either side of you. You can pick one. I think this inside fence is pretty good, but you can actually just, you know, rotate between these two fences. So grab this one on this side, and then when the track goes back to the left, grab the next one, and then back to the right, and so on and so forth. And then what you want to do is on that particular spot, where is this? This is about 68%. You really want to stay to the right because there's lots of breakable stuff there and a pretty long fence. Now it could be pretty difficult to hit these fences on the motorcycle, but your score does add up pretty fast. So notice I got 40,000 at about 80% of the race. Now on this turn at 85, you're going to reset and stay wide, shift into 2nd gear for this one, go around that corner pretty slow. Just going to set you up for this one. Cut hard after these tents. Make sure you get that flag. Keep cutting, and don't go too fast. But then once you get straight, blast the NOS and get to the finish. All right, and the last event is called the Ultimate Freedom Machine. This one we're going to be using the Hummer. Now for this start, I stay to the left and grab this fence here. I ride the entire fence on the left line here. Try to get in front of Davey C. And then try to stay left really close to these walls because there's other breakable fences here as well. NOS through this little tree patch, and then slow down and take this turn, and then jump onto this fence right here. You can break through some of those billboard walls as well. When I get to that checkpoint, I cut it back left, and then I ride this inside fence line because it's a left-hand turn. I try to break as much of these, you know, stick fences as possible. You'll notice the dirty driving is going up this entire time. I got a little bit wonky, but it is what it is. Probably could clean this run up a little. Anyways, across this field, go from this checkpoint basically straight to the next one. And you need to be really conserving your NOS up this hill because you really need it for the jumps that are here. Now on this little section, at 49%, there's a tree here. So to keep your maximum speed here, you really want to get some of this fence for dirty driving, but you don't want to hit this tree. So right after this tree, I cut in. I clipped it actually, but you can go around it. Hit this fence here, and then cut towards the hill and try to avoid the other tree. Here's the spot where you really need the NOS. Notice I land and I'm already back to 142. It's because I was using NOS in the air and right when I got to the ground, so I really didn't lose a lot of speed on that jump. Now grab some of the fence on the right as well. Be careful, there's a barrier there on the right side. Grab another little bit of this fence on the right as well. And then again with the jump, NOS in the air, try to land at about 120, 130. Now, on this part, it's kind of up in the air, which is actually faster. So in this particular run, I slowed down and I took the water. And it ended up being faster overall. But there is a line that I'm playing with, and let me know in the comments if you guys actually get this line. But right here, you can actually jump this hill. And I was able to successfully do it because when you get to the other side, if your truck is flipped and you reset, it does reset you on the right path over the river. So I'm not sure if this is actually faster or not, but you guys play with it and let me know. All right, coming down this hill at 85 or 86%, you're gonna reset that checkpoint. And then you'll cut down the hill over here and reset this checkpoint. And then it's just, basically follow the path to the finish line. And if you're like me, you barely, got your 40,000 at the very end there. All right, lastly, let's take a look at the feats. And for these, I'm just gonna let them play out like I normally do. I will catch you in just a moment with the final scores. All right, here are my final scores. Remember, you can DM me with any questions you might have. I really appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully this thing has helped you. I'll catch you on the next one. Trigger out.
Thank you.